Haaretz, which is they're basically a liberal outlet in Israel. They often are critical of Israel, which is why I will often bring to you some of their articles, which is very rare among Israeli press. But they are often critical of Israel. However, they are still within basically the Overton window. And so they actually called out the gray zone as fake news for saying that many of the festival goers, right? That's one of the things people have talked about most in this in the October 7th event, where I can't remember. I think it was 100 or 200 people. It was a lot of people that were murdered at the rave or festival or whatever music event 3 miles from Gaza, and so hundreds killed. Now, people have said, the propaganda is that Hamas just ran into this festival and started mowing everyone down that they could. Again, if there were evidence to that, then okay, there's evidence to that. But Haaretz called it fake news, that much of it was done by the IDF. And yet Haaretz has now backtracked without admitting they backtracked. They have confirmed, the Gray Zone reporting, that they dismissed as a conspiracy, showing Israel killed its own festival goers. Now, in terms of the definition of false flag, I guess people normally use it to mean something that is planned ahead of time, that you blame on, you kill your own civilians and blame them on someone else. Maybe the most famous one was when to set off World War. One of the things that set off World War II was, or it set off the invasion of Poland, was Hitler dressed up some of his Nazis as Polish soldiers, and then attacked a radio tower or something. I can't remember all the details, but and told everyone that Poland attacked him or attacked the Nazis. But so I guess it's possible that the dictionary definition would be you have to plan ahead to do this thing. But the propaganda now is the false flag at half-mast, which is saying that Hamas killed all these festival goers, when we know that is not true, at least not for all of them. And where's that information coming from? It's the Gray Zone's reporting it, but it's coming from actual police reports. And Haaretz, which reported the police reports. Israeli outlet Haaretz has acknowledged a police report confirmed party goers at a festival 3 miles from the Gaza border were killed by the Israeli military on October 7th. In an article published November 19th, Haaretz reporter Josh Briner wrote that an official investigation into the deaths of Nova Festival attendees revealed that an IDF combat helicopter that arrived at the scene from the Ramat David base fired at the terrorists and apparently also hit some of the revelers who were there, citing a police source. And let's see, here's the actual article. According to a police source, investigation into the incident also revealed that the IDF combat helicopter hit some of the revelers. Okay, 300, I had said 200. 364 people were killed at the festival. But this also would explain, now they don't say how many the IDF killed, but this would also explain how you have such a breathtaking number of deaths. This is a grisly thing to talk about, but your average mass shooter is not able to kill more than a dozen, or in the very rare cases, a few dozen people. The worst mass shooting in American history was the Las Vegas one. And the reason that went on so long, meaning he was basically able to just keep murdering people, was because he was up in a hotel room and they couldn't find him. And so he just kept firing on people, and he killed 50 some, I think, maybe 60. And so, yes, there was more than one Hamas fighter, but even if they ran into this festival event and just started killing everyone, which we know from other evidence was not their aim. Their aim was mainly to take hostages. But let's say they ran in there and were just trying to kill everyone. They still wouldn't be able to kill 264. However, a helicopter gunner could do a massive amount of damage in a small amount of time. And it it stands to reason that the IDF probably was responsible for a lot of these deaths. Let's see if I highlight it a little more. Israeli officials have sought to stifle coverage of their actions in Gaza with newly passed emergency regulations allowing police to crack down on critical reporters accused of, quote, harming national morale. In Israel, you're no longer report anything that harms national morale. So if that same shit were passed in the United States, I would not be able to do any reporting. Now, I have been heavily suppressed, had many things deleted, many platforms deleted, but I have not been arrested. Whereas it sounds like in the new Israeli policy, you could be arrested for harming national morale. The article continues. Tel Aviv's restrictions on media efforts to cover its deadly siege extend to Gaza itself, with CNN's Fareed Zakaria admitting, and Fareed Zakaria does neoliberal manufacturing of consent for war endlessly. So when these CNN and MSNBC anchors are forced to admit these things, that means it's really getting pretty bad when they're the ones admitting it. But Fareed Zakaria admitted that as a condition to enter Gaza under IDF escort, outlets have to submit all materials and footage to the Israeli military for review prior to publication. But the article continues, the suggestion that it was the Israeli military which bears responsibility for the Nova Music Festival killings, not Hamas, as both Tel Aviv and Washington have insisted for nearly 6 weeks, has largely been ignored by legacy media. As of publication, not a single mainstream outlet has acknowledged Haaretz's confirmation of the gray zone's disclosures. So, yet again, you have these revelations coming out, and the mainstream media refuses to mention them, cover them. They continue to stick with the quote unquote official and initial story that all deaths of Israelis on October 7th and the following 2 days were perpetrated by Hamas. But we know that's not true. We know it's absolutely not true. And of course, the festival, although maybe that's where the largest number of murders was, it was just a small part of it. And we know that tanks fired on buildings. We know that Israel has a directive to kill hostages, their own hostages, to kill hostage takers, obviously, and then to kill anyone who happens to be around hostages or hostage takers. It's called the Hannibal Directive, and it's luckily getting some coverage from independent outlets, but you're not going to see anything about it on the mainstream.